During the last bull market, people made millions of dollars by identifying the narratives such as gaming and metaverse that would explode before it happened. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the 3 narratives that I think are going to explode in this next bull market, as well as a number of new projects that you've probably never ever heard of that I'm investing in right now. Hit the like button and let's get into this video. Now, something happens at the bottom of a bear market before we enter a bull market, and that is we start to see a big explosion in the small cap altcoins, and it's happening right under your nose as we speak. This is the top 200 tokens, and this is in the last 24 hours. We're starting to see big money pushing their favorite tokens, and you might not have even seen this. And many people being like, oh, well, this guy and this guy have been telling me that we're not in a bear market. Yeah, we haven't even started. We're going to go down another 90%. The majority of altcoins that people have been investing in are down between 90 and 95% right now. If you look at this at the top, which is the Wall Street cheat sheet, and you look down below at the interest over time in cryptocurrency world searches, you will see that we are pretty much at an all-time low for world searches in cryptocurrency. This is a very big indicator that the market has already bottomed out. Another thing that drives the market is how many people are in profit on an asset and how many people are in loss. When a huge amount of people are in loss, we tend to be more bullish than when a huge amount of people are in profit. This has been shared by CryptoCon over on Twitter, and it's from Glassnode. And he's showing here that every time we drop to this green zone, which is a high loss zone where the majority of people are sitting in massive loss on Bitcoin, we tend to see a big price reversal. That is usually in the green dip that you can see happens here. And then there's always a secondary dip into this area, which is the purple one. And you can see right now that this secondary dip into this zone is on as we speak. And many people who are like, oh, well, this guy and that guy are telling me this. Guys, be very cautious. Right now, prices are extremely low. This is obviously the uncertain time in the market where lots of people will be telling you that you're going to go towards the downside. But what those people aren't really identifying is basically all the kind of metrics and everything that's shouting towards the upside. They're saying, oh, well, the recession's coming and all these things are coming. A couple of days ago, the US announced really bad inflation numbers that were higher than expected. This in the past would indicate a Bitcoin move towards the downside, and yet Bitcoin pushed up. Why is this happening? Well, it's because Bitcoin is ignoring that wider market narrative. It's going to the metrics where its value truly is sat right now. And I think these moves in the altcoins will eventually flood back into the bigger coins, and then we're going to see a push. In my opinion, of course. Whether you agree with me on that or not, what you will probably be able to agree with me on is that in the last bull market, we saw big gains in the likes of Gala, Mana Decentraland, a bunch of layer 1s such as Ethereum, and other things. And this all comes from the narrative. And the narrative, if you're not sure of this word, effectively is basically the summary of what that token is representing, or the area of the market in which the token is getting into. For example, GameFi. The GameFi narrative saw explosions in the likes of Gala Gaming. The metaverse narrative saw explosions in Mana Decentraland Sandbox and a number of others. So we have to identify the future narratives for the next bull market if we want to find the coins that could well be seeing some explosive growth early. How do we do that? Well, the big money is already identifying the narratives. We just simply need to follow the big money. This is an Airtable chart, which I'll leave a link down below in the description. And it's basically, you can see coming down through all of the investments that are going on right now. And these are all of the companies right now that are not yet launching, that will be launching into the next bull market. And you can see all of the dates they've been raising, how much money they've been raising, who's been investing, that kind of thing. You come down through, you can see the websites that they are, the founders, and all of the categories. Now, I've been through here and looked at all of these different projects more recently because I'm boring and I've got not much else left to do, right? But if you don't have the time, I've been able to identify that a lot of these, in terms of their narrative, are focused into a few different areas, gaming being one, and we will look at gaming slightly later on in the video. But you can see, this is September. Look at how many investments are going in right now. September, there is millions and millions of dollars being raised in some of these projects. And this is not a video talking about projects that are going to launch soon, but a video about some that have already launched. And if you watched my video yesterday, because you're subscribed, which you should be, I was telling you that a lot of projects on early launch will have a bit of a pullback, and after that pullback, they can expect a rally towards the upside. Now, the first narrative I've identified is something called liquid staking derivatives. I'm sorry, guys. Many of you, like me, are non-technical and just want to talk about gaming and that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, crypto is developing. It's becoming more complex and there's more exciting things that are going on. And if we can understand what they are, then we can potentially make some big gains. The first thing, liquid staking derivatives. What on earth is that? Well, you've probably heard of staking tokens, and from locking away your tokens, you will gain a reward in return. The problem with doing this is you can lock away millions, potentially billions, in the case of Lido DAO, in assets. And this means that liquidity can't be used for anything else. A liquid staking derivative simply means that you can stake against a project, and in return for staking against a project, you'll receive some tokens back, which you can then go away and invest in other stuff, basically creating a more liquid pool for the staking. Lido DAO currently has around $10 billion worth of Ethereum staked upon that platform. Liquid staking derivatives is a big area of interest for big money to get involved in right now, and Lido DAO is one of those projects that's seen a good pullback. More recently, it's around $14 billion of staked tokens existing on this ecosystem right now, and it's something that's definitely worth paying attention to. A new project that I talked about earlier on in the year, which has been performing very strongly more recently, is Tenet. I talked about Tenet before it launched, where it was around 2 cents on launch price, and it shot up to around 28 cents, has since pulled back to something around 15 cents today, and is looking very good. Tenet, for me, is an exciting project. And before everyone rushes in and says, oh, this is a paid shill, I'm not being paid by these projects, guys, right now. No project will pay me for a review of like 15 different projects, okay? Especially in times when the market's quiet. I do take paid sponsorship, but this is not one of them. When I do have paid sponsorships, I will let you know, because I think that's fine. Because one, I'm happy to take good sponsored projects, but also I think it's important that you know when I do. On with the video. Tenet's also working in there with AI and lots of other exciting bits and pieces. Now, because we've got a lot to get through and lots of people complained yesterday that the video was a little bit too long, I recommend you go and check these out, guys. So Tenet in the liquid staking a derivatives niche, you can see is implementing diversified proof of stake, restake your staked assets to validate a smart contract network secured by omnichain governance. So you're locking away your stake in order to earn your rewards, but you are still able to use those assets for completing other tasks and whatever else it is, whether that be participating in airdrops and other narratives like that. My next narrative that's clearly picking up when we look at what the big money is moving towards right now is locking in real world value assets onto the blockchain. And if you subscribed, you'll know I'm quite a fan of Chainlink. Centrifuge, however, newly launched, again has had a significant pullback. Looks like a very exciting one. Now, what do I mean by real world assets? A real world asset might be something like gold, property, etc. And I think there's a big future where we see these types of assets being locked up onto a blockchain. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean basically using these real world assets and creating NFTs associated with them, whether that be property, whether that be passports, whether that be ownership of gold and silver or whatever assets, guys. This is what I see taking a very big position in the future, and the institutional ecosystem for on-chain credit, transparent, affordable, and limitless. So, for example, someone may own a lot of gold, and I've been approached by a company recently that is a mine in South Africa that is mining gold. They will be looking to go through platforms like this in order to be able to get people to invest in their projects, their mining projects, and they can do it in a virtual world, a blockchain world, rather than what was traditionally done through various paperwork and whatever else. This allows for full transparency, equal and open participation, diversification, DeFi liquidity, again, that comes in and gets exciting again, and then obviously security. And things like mining and stuff in the past have been highly manipulated, so all of this transparency is essential going forward, and this is something I really like the look of. Centrifuge.io, worth a look in my opinion. You can come across, you can find out more information about what's going on over here. Now, the next narrative I'm interested in, and I did say that this was for coins that have already launched, but ZK Sync has not launched. ZK, or Zero Knowledge, is another huge area to pay attention to. Now, what is ZK? To put it simply, guys, Zero Knowledge is the sharing of proof of information between two parties. To make this very straightforward, I'm going to use an analogy to explain this. Imagine you're at school, you're a bit of a maths geek. You can basically prove that you have the answer and you can prove that you were able to find the answer, but without actually having to show your workings and give the answer to that individual. This is a very important thing because it allows for information to be shared and proof of something having been completed without having to show all of the detailed information. This is extremely important and has basically been coined by Vitalik Buterin to be the holy grail of blockchain technology. It reduces down the data required, it enhances the level of security, and this pushes forward into scalability as well. This is the blockchain trilemma. So zero knowledge stuff is highly exciting, okay, because it's going to add for a huge boost in all of these different things. And each of these projects is focusing on sort of one thing or the other. Zero Knowledge Era is a layer 2 protocol that scales Ethereum by cutting-edge ZK tech. Our mission is not only to merely increase Ethereum's throughput, but fully preserve its foundational values, which are freedom, self-sovereignty, decentralization, and scale. Obviously, Ethereum has its issues, and if ZK Sync can solve these, it's going to stand in a very, very exciting place going forward, especially as we move into a Web3 environment. Because ZK Sync is a big one, right? It hasn't launched yet, but it's going to have a massive market cap already in sort of hundreds of millions because it's a highly anticipated project. Tyco, however, much smaller, but still offering something very exciting, a Type 1 ZK EVM, decentralized Ethereum equivalent ZK rollup, and is basically trying to make it very easy for developers to use ZK, because previously I'm told it was extremely complex. Tyco, however, making it very easy, and all of their code is open source, which is a very big thing, which gets a lot of excitement in crypto. Also highly decentralized and permissionless, proposers and provers, anyone can participate in Tyco, which is very cool, and they have a very active and exciting community. Now finally, and we have talked about this already on today's video, but in the last bull market, we saw a very big push in GameFi, and I'm still ultra bullish on GameFi. And the reason behind that is the growth of the ecosystem going forward. In the past, I've talked about Alex Becker and others saying that it could well decouple from the wider crypto market. What that really means is if obviously we have a kind of a bull pump and then a kind of down into a bear market for crypto, then potentially we may just see GameFi continue to go towards the upside as it gets mass adoption. I think it's one of the areas that will see mass adoption going forward, and it's one of the ecosystems that has been continually growing aggressively throughout the long bear market that we've been sat in. Blockchain games is anticipated to be worth around $67.4 billion in 2026, as you can see here, and that's very good because if you're invested early in some of these projects, which the majority of which, particularly Gala Games and many others, are down over 90% since the top of their last bull market. These for me are companies I want exposure to. I explained the other day why the drama going on with Gala Games is actually something that gets me more excited because it's now even more undervalued than I think it should be, and this is making it a good investment. Another project that I'm excited about in line with Gala Games, which is seeing a big pump towards the upside right now, so basically wait for some pullbacks, and if you're not sure about when to be buying into projects because you're not really sure how to identify buy zones and things like that, then make sure you subscribe, guys, and I'll bring you a short video on how to identify buy zones and sell zones, and maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Actually, just giving myself the idea. Good idea. Let's do that. Okay, so make sure you're subscribed, and I'll bring you that video tomorrow. Games for a Living is a very exciting platform because it offers lots of different games. That's very positive because you're not just investing in the success of one game. You've got a small market cap, exciting team, they're working on some really cool projects, some really cool games. They bring games across a variety of different areas, from football to kind of exploring games to kind of little puzzle games, all sorts of different things like that. I'm not a massive gamer, as you might be able to see, but I think Games for a Living has got a bright future ahead of it. And GameFi, guys, don't have to be too switched on to identify that we need kind of bright and exciting projects that are in a good narrative, which is hopefully what I've delivered you in this video, that have good use cases, that are kind of, going to be expanding into the future. You don't need to know much more than that. Another one I'm excited about within that kind of niche, and is today's video sponsor, is Grape, the first Web3 infrastructure for a decentralized internet. Now, I want to talk about Grape at the end because it fits into the GameFi niche. They are now working on a DAG decentralized acyclic graph geared toward GameFi and a metaverse. Okay, 700,000 transactions per second operating on this particular blockchain, and it's basically allowing non-technical people to build directly onto this ecosystem. And this happens with the addition of an AI that enables people to do this very easily, bringing in more overall functionality. You can see it's basically handling all sorts of different things geared towards the metaverse and GameFi, authentication, smart contracts, DCS, marketplaces for NFTs, and various other launch pads. This project is launching next month. And not only are they focusing towards metaverse and GameFi, but they're now starting to introduce more use cases. And this document here, which you can find over on the website, talks about the e-government move that they're partnering up with a number of different governments. You can see all of the comparisons between Vine, which is the ecosystem here, and Cardano. They then come across and talk about banking and how they're going to be implemented there. They compare themselves against XRP and all the different ways to develop them further. And they're basically targeting all these different ecosystems. This could be one of the biggest projects of the next bull market, in my opinion. But obviously, do your own research, guys. Don't invest any money that you can't afford to lose. And don't invest any money without understanding fully the project and whether or not you think it's a good investment. It's not for me necessarily to tell you it is. I'm just introducing you to these projects. What I will say though is, guys, if you go through my link down below in the description for Grape, you will get an additional 10% of tokens if you decide that it's a good investment and you want to buy today. So you might as well go through that link rather than just go direct to the website, because then you'll get an additional 10%, and that's a bit of a no-brainer in my opinion. The price right now on Bitmart Exchange for Grape is something like $200, but the pre-sale price is $46. So theoretically, when it launches, if it gets dragged up towards that price, then there's a good return on investment potentially, but obviously who knows exactly, guys. This is crypto, so be very cautious. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel and you want to know exactly what I'm investing in, what the narratives and what everything else is going on right now, then subscribe, and I'll see you in the very next video. Bye bye.